Welcome back. Well, it's been a while, but always a joy when we have time to sit down with our good friend Dan Perkins. He's a political commentator, author of 4 novels, host of What's on My Mind podcast, and his latest historic romance titled Sad Eyes Part 2. Anyway, there's a picture of the book on the screen. You can go to danperkins.guru. That's one of his websites. Songs and Stories for Soldiers. That's his outreach to veterans. That's the other site. So, hey, Brother Dan, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Good. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Thank you for the coffee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hopefully it keeps you awake. Good stuff. Well, a lot to talk to you about. Did you watch the certification yesterday? What'd you think?
No, I didn't watch it. I didn't think there was going to be any surprises. And there weren't. I was concerned because of the snowstorm that they were going to get enough for a quorum, but I guess they did. It's just another example of the Democrats don't know what to say or do about why Kamala lost. And they're still trying to figure it out. One thing that is absolutely clear to me, and this is a Christian show, so I can't repeat the words of Don Lemon last week when he talked about the certain kinds of people who voted for Donald Trump and was not complimentary. The Democrats seem to be on this mission to criticize and demonize the American people who voted what they thought was right as wrong. They didn't vote the way the Democratic leadership thought they should vote. And so they didn't lose it. The American people didn't know what they were doing.
Do you think it appears that no matter what the Democrats are doing right now, they're furthering themselves from the American people? I mean,
no question. Absolutely no question.
Yeah, the basis seems to dwindle. Their message carriers on media don't have an audience anymore. How bad is it for them?
It's really it's worse than they're willing to admit, and worse than the conservative media is willing to admit how bad it is. When you lose 50% of your network, and you know as a network executive how devastating that can be, and if it's an overnight thing, okay, you deal with it. But it's not been an overnight thing. It has been going on, and the fact that these liberal talk show hosts are attacking Trump, attacking the American people, the voters, is only further expanding the Republican base, because more and more Democrats. In fact, I'm doing a show later today on what I think is going to happen in 25, excuse me. I think the biggest surprise is going to be the number of Democrats in Congress who switched to the Republican Party this year.
Yeah, the last time we saw that was post 9/11 with President Bush.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, a couple of other things I want to unwind here.
Okay.
Mike Johnson retained a speakership, probably because the president-elect came out and endorsed him. I would assume that the speaker is really now at the beck and call of the president-elect, right or wrong?
You're right. However, we have to be fair. Donald Trump won't be inaugurated until January 20th, but he's been the president for about the last 30 days, de facto. He's working with leaders. He's cutting deals. He's making people make commitment. Look what happened as your previous guest was talking about the Canadian Prime Minister. The impact of what Donald Trump was able to impact this time in this election has global implications, and you covered that very well with him. It isn't just Canada; it's Europe. Is that we're becoming, as a world, we're becoming more conservative, and while I'm not sure I can totally subscribe to the fact that we're turning back to Christianity, I like to hope so, but I do know that Bible sales are up dramatically. But the world is going through a dramatic change.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the change. I think we have to play this out a little bit, but There's still a small margin inside the House to get the president's agenda to move forward. And those who held out, even against Johnson, they run the risk of the president campaigning against them in 2 years while the president's still in office for 4.
Yeah, I suspect that if anybody bolts in the next 100 days, Mr. Trump is not going to wait 2 years to start campaigning against him. He's going to start right away, immediately. And that person or persons are going to feel the wrath of what it means to have a sitting president, a popularly elected president, to be against what you think you want to say. And that could have a dramatic impact. And I think it only will take a couple of Democrats or Republicans who switch parties. And I don't think Republicans are going to switch to Democrats. I do believe Democrats are going to switch to Republicans. But if you think about it, Perry, if we had a Florida congressman who was elected as a Democrat who's already announced that she's going to switch to the Republican Party, I expect you'll see more and more, especially if all of the disastrous things that the Democratic Party was predicting would happen with Trump becomes president, not only don't happen, but he begins to make positive change. You're going to see Democrats bolt in a hurry.
What did you think? I love the term, so you'll get it when I say it. What did you think of the Oprahization of the Medal of Freedom given out by President Biden over the weekend?
I can't tell you how angry I was. You know, all these last minute things he's doing, how the president of the United States, in all good conscience, can give George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It amazes me. How he gives it to Hillary Clinton, who is a felon. She's not convicted, but she's a felon as much as Donald Trump, or actually worse than Donald Trump, because she actually did the things that they're accused to. And even the government, the attorney general, or the director of the FBI, Comey, said she had broken the law, but we couldn't prosecute her. So I think that what did he gain? What did he gain in convincing Democrats to stay within the party by giving George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom? I don't see how that helped him and helped the Democratic Party at all. And Hillary, same thing. The only person that I thought that was perhaps deserving was the actor Denzel Washington, for his work with the Boys and Girls Clubs over the last decade. But the rest of it, again, it sends the wrong message to the Democratic Party, rank and file, and it's going to drive them away and make it more and more difficult for the Democrats to try and regain power. I think there's one more pardon coming. And I really believe before he leaves office, he now understands the ramification of his pardon of his son and his son's loss of protection under the Fifth Amendment. If he's called before Congress to testify, he can't take the Fifth Amendment. He's got to tell. I think he's going to pardon himself.
What about Liz Cheney?
I'm sorry?
What about Liz Cheney?
Oh, I know this is somewhat controversial, but I hope that the Republicans in the House have the courage to blow up the January 6th committee and release all the videos and everything else that they have that was never shown to the American people, and show them how corrupt that committee was, and see if there's a way that they can be prosecuted.
Okay. I'm just wondering, though, if he pardons her, gives her a preemptive pardon, gives Adam Schiff a preemptive pardon on his way out the door.
I think, well, there were a couple of people on death row, believe it or not, who were given a pardon and they turned it down. So just because the president says you can have it doesn't mean that you get it, because you have to sign certain documents in order to get it. So I think that there's a possibility that you're going to have more people who are going to not want the pardon, and Schiff will be I believe if there's an investigation, he has to be investigated. Whether or not the president gives him a pardon before he leaves office, I don't know. He hasn't given any indication that he wants one.
Yeah. All right. So a couple quick questions before I take a break. So what did you think of Trudeau resigning yesterday? We just found out that it's a conditional resignation between now and October, but nonetheless, he's done.
What I thought about that?
Yeah.
He now understands the power of Donald Trump. Donald Trump was able to convince the Canadian citizens why he needs to go. And when the Canadian people looked at the possibility of a 25% tariff on everything coming out of Canada, they could easily figure out the jobs that would be lost, the income that would be lost, the revenue that would be lost, and what kind of shape the country is going to be in. So the action of Donald Trump saying, if you don't fix the border, we're going to put a 25% tariff on everything you import to the United States. And that was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back of the Canadian people.
All right. Let me take a quick break. A couple of websites for our brother here, danperkins.guru. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us. That's where he has an amazing outreach to veterans. And check out his series of novels, and of course the latest two, Sad Eyes. And there's a picture of the cover of that one on the screen there. You can check that out online as well. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and perfect timing at the top of the new year to have with us our good friend Dan Perkins, political commentator, author of several novels. What's on My Mind podcast is also where you can go and listen to his commentary there. And his latest historical romance, Sad Eyes, and volume 1 and 2. There's a picture of the book on the screen there, the copy or the cover of the book on the screen there. Dan does have a couple of websites. His personal one is danperkins.guru. And then he has an amazing outreach to veterans around the country, Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us. You can go there and work with him on that. So Dan, yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to tell you about what we're doing at Songs and Stories.
Oh yeah.
We have we've given a lot of thought to expanding the ministry. We're seeing now between 5,000 and 7,000 veterans a year who are dying of overdoses of drugs.
Oh.
And the principal drug is fentanyl.
Oh.
So we are working with the only FDA-cleared fentanyl test in the nation into a partnership that will allow us to distribute to veterans the fentanyl test for free, that will help them not only determine if they've been exposed to it, and then a lab test that will help them understand how much fentanyl they have in their system to try and save some lives. So we're working on that. I hope to be able to tell you in the next few months that we're going to run with that. The other thing is, you may not remember, but I lost my home in Hurricane Ian and have moved a couple of times trying to find permanent housing. And about a year and a half ago, I joined the Knights of Columbus, the first time in my 79 years of life. And last year, we started a new program called Amarillos for Babies. We decided to adopt 2 pregnancy crisis centers here in Fort Myers to provide money for sonograms for women who are considering abortion about trying to keep their baby. Last year, we sold 200 Amarillos, which allowed us to do 200 sonograms. And this year, we did 225 flowers. So we got, in little over 1 year's time, we're going to save about 425 babies' lives.
That is absolutely wonderful, Dan. Can they keep track of this at your danperkins.guru?
No, but I'll send you a link for the Knights of Columbus, and our local chapter. They can follow it.
Okay, let us know. let us know. Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, it was the best. When I did this last year, I actually cried because it was the best Christmas present I ever got in my life that I bought. And I bought 13 bulbs for my family. The idea that I had my action of buying one of these bulbs had the potential to save a child's life, and to save 13 was outrageous. But to save one, it's the best Christmas present you could ever give, is to save the life of an unborn child.
God bless you. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to switch you over to a little bit international thinking here a little
Sure.
bit. As you know, we've watched the fall of Syria. We've watched Israel go out and pretty much neutralize the military in the interim. Turkey's got its eye on taking Syria over, and Turkey's a member of NATO. What does President Trump do with that?
I think it's amazing when you look at, let's say, the last 6 months. The Biden administration was putting enormous amount of pressure on Israel to stop, to not go any farther, don't pursue any people. And they started picking off the leaders of Hamas and Hezbollah and even in Iran. And it began to create a problem because the destruction of the leadership of Hezbollah and Hamas created a problem for them because their leadership was gone. And nobody would step up and say, I'll volunteer to be the leader. I'll take the bullet. I don't think so. So what Mr. Trump, in encouraging Benjamin, and I know that from firsthand knowledge that Mr. Yahoo was in Mar-a-Lago on several occasions prior to the election and after the election, and Donald Trump encouraged him to continue the fight, so that the actions of the Israeli government to ignore the challenges of the Biden administration and go after the leadership and infrastructure of the two largest Iranian terrorist organizations changed the face. And it was that movement that Assad left Syria, that terrible, terrible person. And yeah, it causes some turmoil. But what I think is we're at the beginning of what I would call a reset, a positive reset of the leadership in the Middle East that are going to have to realize that Mr. Trump is back. We know what he did before, and he's probably going to do it again. So, but they are much weaker because of what Israel has done over the last 6 months.
Okay, and I don't think anybody disagrees with you that. I mean, when you look at, from Hezbollah to the Hamas to the Houthis, Syria, all of that is in play. You got Saudi Arabia is probably going to give Israel a pass to fly over. Something's going to happen in Iran shortly. We don't know what. Whether it's a regime change, taking out the nukes, something's going to happen in Iran. I think that's inevitable. But
yes,
here sits this crazy thing over in Turkey, who's also a sponsor and a terrorist organization itself, and it's a member of NATO. I think.
Yeah, and I think that having it, there are some people who I think, in my personal opinion, sir, have got it wrong. They think that if with Turkey as a member of NATO, NATO can control Turkey. I don't think that's true. I think while Turkey may be a member of NATO, they have their own agenda and what they want to do, and they're not really going to pay any attention to what NATO has to say.
So do they get expelled?
No, that would take courage, and I don't think that kind of courage in NATO.
That's a good point. So NATO dissolves?
Well, NATO becomes ineffective. Now, what will happen is that I believe that, as Mr. Trump did before, Mr. Trump will start putting pressure on NATO to end the situation with what's going on between Russia and its new battle partner down to the south. And I think that Mr. Trump's going to negotiate some type of a settlement. I don't know what, but it's going to happen very quickly. And we're going to see a cessation of the ceasefire and a resolution But my God, if you've seen any of the pictures of what's happened to that country, it's been virtually destroyed. I mean, it's going to take trillions of dollars to rebuild it. Who's going to rebuild it? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Who in the world has an extra trillion or two to help rebuild that devastated country? But I do believe that Mr. Trump, his influence will be felt, and quickly. I believe there will be a settlement in that god-awful war.
A couple other quick questions, Dan. The president is a de facto president right now. He's making deals, like you said. If things are happening, his nominees for his cabinet are sitting there waiting for confirmation. Since what the terrorist attack in New Orleans, and of course we're still trying to figure out what happened in Las Vegas, nonetheless, there's a move to quickly get his cabinet confirmed. You think that'll happen?
Right. Yes. I think that the Democrats in the Senate are in a very awkward position. To slow down the process, they're going to come under tremendous pressure, both political pressure and PR pressure from Donald Trump, if another attack happens. And the Louisiana, the New Orleans attack, I mean, it was what a fiasco on the part of the federal government. The special agent in charge of New Orleans was out of town. Nobody knew where he was. The assistant special agent declared it was not a terrorist act, and then she got basically called on the carpet, and she may, in fact, if not already, is going to lose her job for opening her mouth when she shouldn't. It's just another example of the chaos within the Biden remaining time with Biden. And so we've got all of these things going on. Biden trying to pardon everybody, trying to write all these special legislations on drilling in oil and gas and what stove you're going to have and what refrigerator you're going to have. All these things are trying to get put in place, and they're all being done on executive order, and they're all going to be turned over probably within the first 2 to 3 days of the Trump administration. So there's nobody in charge except that Donald Trump is picking the areas that he wants to be in charge already. And I think if the understanding that he's going to be able to put tremendous pressure on the Congress to move and give him his appointments, I think the Democrats will cave.
This is a big question in a short amount of time, but have you ever in your lifetime seen a president more engaged in so many things? I mean, it's not politics as much as it is business. I mean, have we ever seen a capitalist come into the presidency that understands so many things so fast about how things work?
No, because your previous guest, and I listened to watched part of the interview, he made the comment, which I think was a valid comment. What Canada needs is not a politician. They need somebody from outside the political process, like Reagan, like Donald Trump, to come in and take over the leadership of the country, because that's what it needs. This idea that politicians can solve the problems, they haven't been able to demonstrate that they can only make more problems. So I think that that's what's going on, and that's happening all over the world, that politicians are losing favor and they're being cast out.
Okay, well, good to see you. I'm glad you're slowly getting settled. And where can they get the Sad Eyes series?
You can get it at Amazon.com, and some of the other books are there too. And I've got a new book that will be out hopefully in April, Abraham Lincoln and the Second Assassination. It'll actually be 3 books, a trilogy on the assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, fascinating. Well, no grass growing under your feet.
No.
All right, go to danperkins.guru. That's his main website. If you want to get involved in his outreach to veterans, which is amazing, and now with this new level of service, check it out, songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. And next time we visit, we'll have another website for you. Dan, good as always. Good to see you, friend. God bless you. Stay in the fight, buddy.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, sir. Take care.